And we continue at 1:06 in the afternoon. Talk Radio 790 KABC, the John Phillips Show, broadcasting live from the Morongo Casino Resort and Spa Living Room Studios. Mr. Randy Wang's at the sports desk in Culver City.
John, yesterday, L.A. Mayor Karen Bass had a telephone town hall with residents of Los Angeles. And for some reason, I listened to the entire 45-minute presentation, but there was a couple of fun nuggets, including Karen Bass admitting to her constituents something that we're well aware of, an interesting statistic that comes out of the fire department.
But I want you to know that just think about how much it costs for people to be on the street. One of the other callers talked about homeless people or homeless encampments being the source of fires. And I know when I've met with our fire department, they will talk about the number one reason they're going around town fighting fires is fires connected to homelessness. So leaving people on the street cause way more than housing them.
Okay. It's also causing us to be uninsurable. Now that we know this, how about busting up the encampments?
She's trying.
Not really.
She can only buy so many motel rooms at once.
If you're feeling down, if you're feeling blue, let's get help for you.
How dumpy does your motel have to be for the city to target you to put the homeless in it? Like, how low end are we going here?
We're talking hooker hotels, the ones that charge by the hour.
The ones that are still advertising that they offer color TV?
Yes.
Whenever you're driving around in the middle of the country, you still see those ads. We've got HBO. Really?
It's not TV. It's HBO.
Do you think any motel that advertises color TV offers Wi-Fi?
No, absolutely not.
No.
And they definitely don't offer bulletproof doors.
If you see that advertisement on a motel, keep driving. Because the next thing you're going to see is crime scene tape. 800-222-KABC is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. All right, let's go back to the spin room after last night's big GOP presidential debate.
Gavin Newsom, in his interview with CNN's Dana Bash, was asked if the border issue is a real problem and what is the Biden administration doing about it besides ignoring it.
You mentioned that you have had to send your National Guard troops to the border.
Yeah.
So it is a real problem.
Fentanyl is a serious issue. I've invested over $1 billion in it. The day I got into office, I kept the National Guard. I've added to the National Guard.
Does more need to happen?
What about the National Guard you sent to San Francisco to the Tenderloin?
Oh, yeah, the accountants.
Does more need to happen on a federal level?
Absolutely.
I mean, I know Congress is...
Immigration system's broken in the United States. The asylum system is broken in the United States. Biden put out a plan, 8-year pathway to citizenship. He talked about TPS, farm workers. He talked about H-1B visas. He talked about clearing out the backlogs in the court. It was a starting point. The Republican Party's not even debating it. So spare me that this is Biden's crisis. It's a crisis of our own creation because parties are not coming together like the old Gang of Eight. I'm old enough to remember 2013 when there was bipartisanship on this. People have to stop. This is a serious issue. I'm a border state governor. I don't need to be...
Border state governor Gavin Newsom.
I love that his answer to deal with the crisis at the border is just to make all of them legal.
This is a serious issue. I'm a border...
Well, that's what we did in 86.
This is a serious issue. I'm a border state governor. I don't need to be introduced to this issue. I intimately involve it. I go down to the border all the time. It's a real...
Last time he went all the way to Mexico.
He was on vacation in Cancun or Cabo at some oligarch's house, right?
That was Thanksgiving in 2020. Still don't know what the heck was up with that one. But recently, he went down and crossed the border to talk to the other side of the border, and I would assume to buy some cheap Xanax.
I intimately involve it. I go down to the border all the time. It's a real issue, and we all have responsibility to own it, just like Ronald Reagan himself did in 1986.
Why does he say that when he speaks ears?
It's a weird tick that he has. I think he believes it makes him sound smarter. It's like Madonna with the fake British accent.
Ronald Reagan himself did in 1986.
You mentioned Washington. There's a shutdown looming, three days. One of the things that Republicans are pushing for to keep the government running is additional federal dollars for border security. Does that sound like a good idea to you?
Oh, we got our first moan of the day.
Oh, yeah. Now we're back with the obscene phone call behavior.
A good idea to you as a governor?
In broad strokes, I mean, I'm all for.
Wait, don't use that word in this.
A good idea to you as a governor?
In broad strokes, I mean, I'm all for supporting.
You know, he is to sexual innuendo what food talk is to Katie Porter.
Broad strokes. I mean, I'm all for supporting our men and women in uniform at the border. They're having a difficult time recruiting, retaining workforce. A lot of folks aren't getting through the background checks. That's why I've helped supplement with some of the National Guard. I'm not one of those open border Democrats. I was never a defund police Democrat either.
The cocaine's kicking in again.
I'm not one of those open border Democrats. I was never a defund police Democrat.
That's right, Blue Dog Gavin.
He is whatever he has to be.
I'm not one of those open border Democrats. I was never a defund police Democrat either. This is a real issue. We have a dynamic two-way border in terms of trade. It's a profound model because it's the largest port of entry in the Western Hemisphere in the state of California. You haven't seen the front, but you guys aren't down here every week. It's not to suggest we don't have problems. We do, but we have managed our borders effectively, more effectively than most. But it is a...
See, Abbott just can't manage his border the way Gavin does.
First of all, the border is not a state issue. It's a federal issue. Second of all, California used to be the epicenter of illegal aliens streaming into the country. It was down there south of San Diego. That's part of the reason why we got Prop 187. That's part of the reason why the debate started here and then worked its way to other parts of the country. The reason that California is no longer the epicenter is because back then, when we had the massive problem, we built a wall down there. And the wall caused them to shift where the illegals came through the border into the country to Arizona and Texas. That's why all of the focus is on those two states. And it was a Democratic president, I would add, in Bill Clinton, that approved that wall going up in San Diego. The walls work. We just need more of them.
But it is a real issue. And Democrats, it's a point of contrast perhaps, I think we have a responsibility not to deny the reality at the border. We have a responsibility to be constructive and work to get Republicans to move.
Admitting what you just said, the problem at the border?
Not only admitting, the Biden administration put out a plan. Republicans have put out nothing except rhetoric, and they demagogue this issue for political gain.
The Biden administration says there's no problem at the border.
It's secure.
That's right, because we have cameras.
Kamala's getting to the root causes of that one.
That's her specialty.
Now, Johnny, I've been dreading going to this, but I feel like it's time that we have to hear round 2 of Gavin Newsom and Sean Hannity.
These two, before we get to the sound, it doesn't matter how much they fight. They like one another.
Oh, I bet they text all the time.
Well, it's Gavin Newsom's favorite television program. That's what he watches at night when he's getting obliterated.
He told Fox and Friends he loves them, too, yesterday.
I believe him.
He's got it on morning, noon, and night. He is what we call in the business a P1. Let's hear how chummy they start out.
Gavin Newsom is with us. How are you, Governor?
Good to be back with you, Sean.
All right, now that you went on your little media tour with all your liberal sycophants, you come back to reality, and you love doing my show better. You just told me off air. I love doing your show the most.
I mean, okay, who's the bigger narcissist? Because Gavin is quite a narcissist, but you've got precious time in the spin room, and the first question to Gavin is, you like my show the best, right?
Why not?
I love doing your show the most.
I mean, it's unbelievable that you can publicly say something like that. That's amazing. By the way, favored nation status for me. The Reagan Library at a Republican debate. Where else would I want to be?
Wow.
This is it. This is home court.
Okay.
Home court.
So now I'm going to ask you, honest question. So you see the atmosphere, you feel the electricity, you feel the room.
Oh, I know where you're going.
You know where I'm going.
I know where you're going.
Yeah. Okay, and you...
We just finished the presidential debate.
Are you
and here you are promoting
I got to imagine, based on the tone that Gavin is taking in this interview and the tone that we heard with MSNBC and with Alex Michelson and CNN, Gavin's had a couple drinks in between.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And they definitely serve liquor over at that library.
Yeah. How hardcore do the spin rooms get when it comes to the open bar?
Well, usually at these libraries, it's just beer and wine. I was at a wedding over at the Nixon Library, and if I recall correctly, all they served was beer and wine. At the Reagan Library, they have a bar right next to where the airplane is, a full-on saloon with all kinds of different whiskeys and scotches, all the spirits that you could ever want. And they have bartenders that really know what they're doing there. So if Gavin Newsom is all liquored up when he's doing these interviews, it's not on beer and wine. He was hitting the hard stuff.
Finish the presidential debate. Are you going to promoting a presidential candidate against the governor?
Because I know the truth. In your heart, in your mind, you want this. But you have basically gone on a media tour sucking up to Joe Biden, and you know he's a cognitive mess. You know it.
I also know he's got an extraordinary record to run on.
Really?
He didn't deny it.
No, he didn't. I mean, why go down that rabbit hole?
I also know he's got an extraordinary record to run on.
Really?
And I couldn't be more proud. By the way,
how's his record on the border?
Objectively, he was the winner tonight. No doubt.
Objectively?
Yeah, no.
Joe Biden?
That's not spin. These guys identified problems. And Biden actually has not only identified solutions, he's gotten bipartisan deals to begin the process of implementing those.
Look into that camera right there, and you tell the people watching.
Yeah.
Do you?
I think Hannity's plots, too.
Hannity likes scotch.
Do you think this border is secure? Because they keep telling us it's closed and secure. Do you believe the southern border is secure? Well, do you believe with all the fentanyl deaths and opioid deaths, is this border secure?
I believe Ronald Reagan was right in 1986 when he supported comprehensive immigration.
Yeah, well, he also said it was the worst decision he ever made.
Yeah, but I believe that he did the right thing for the right reasons because he recognized it's not just a border issue. That the entire
system, the worst decision.
The entire
Can't hear anything Gavin's saying, Hannity, because you keep interrupting him.
You know what this is? This is the boys' version of The View.
Yes.
Border issue
that the entire system,
the entire system needs to be reformed. We haven't reformed since '86.
You're not answering my question.
We need to reform the asylum system.
I want to know.
I believe in strong borders.
You just said Joe's successful.
This is The View.
Okay. Last week we had the former insurance commissioner, Dave Jones, on. And he was blaming our insurance problems in this state on climate change. And he was also answering my questions about whether or not, for example, your insurance company can kick you off your policy midterm. Questions that we can't get answered from the current insurance commissioner. I got this absolute avalanche of emails of people who are upset with me for not machine gunning them on the air. The fact that I allowed him to answer the questions and allow him to say things that were totally nuts. I mean, that's what he believes. So, I mean, what do you expect to come out of his mouth? But they wanted me to conduct the interview like this. And I'll tell you, hearing this interview conducted this way makes my head spin. I feel like I'm having multiple strokes.
There are multiple styles of interviews. The Hannity style gives me a headache.
I can't hear what he's saying, and I can't hear what Newsom's saying. I just hear two people yelling at one another.
I believe in strong borders.
You just said Joe's successful.
I think Joe Biden has been an unbelievably successful
president. Is this border
president.
secure?
The border, we all agree we have a border challenge. We all agree we need to reform the asylum system. We agree in strong borders.
So he's not successful in securing the border.
I think the Republican Party is complicit in this as well. You cannot do things. I mean, it's just factual.
The border was secure under Donald Trump.
That's wildly overstated, but I get your fundamental point. Clearly, the challenges are more acute today. And by the way, I don't need to be educated on this. I have the largest land port in the Western Hemisphere here in the state of California. I don't disagree.
You ran out of air there.
California.
But he's trying to get his words in as fast as possible before he gets interrupted.
But you're a sanctuary state. And
it's
you
the fifth
want
largest
illegal
economy in the
immigration.
world. We had 7.8% GDP growth in 2021. And we dominate on innovation and entrepreneurial
And who
spirit.
pays for housing, food, clothing, education, health care? Who pays for that?
We had $177.7 billion operating surplus over 2 fiscal years.
How about this year?
Man, I'm having a hard time even understanding what's going on here.
$0.7 billion operating surplus over 2 fiscal years, and I just did an $18.5 billion tax rebate, the largest in American history, as we expanded universal health care, and we're providing more services, including, by the way, health insurance, which Ron DeSantis apparently wasn't even aware of the question.
You save that for the debate with Ron.
That was round one of Hannity versus Gavin.
I don't know if I can take much more of this. I know we have other clips.
We've got Hannity versus Gavin on gas prices, Hannity versus Gavin on DeSantis, Hannity versus Gavin on running for president, and inexplicably, Hannity versus Gavin on a wildlife crossing on the 101 freeway.
I think I'm going to have to tap out.
You are well within your rights to do that. I watched this thing on I watched back-to-back every single interview Gavin did in the spin room, and this is the one that was driving me crazy.
Have you ever tried to read a book on an airplane when they keep making those announcements over the PA system? They're trying to sell you the credit card. They're telling you which gate your bags are going to be at. They're telling you to put your seatbelt on because turbulence is coming. They tell you that they're going to be coming down the aisle with the drink cart, so have your order ready to go by the time the flight attendants get to you. Whatever the announcement is, they make nonstop announcements on flights. Whenever they're doing that, and I'm reading a book, I will frequently have to read the same paragraph like 5 times so I understand what I'm reading, because it's difficult for me to read when someone's in my ear. I would have to watch that interview between Sean Hannity and Gavin Newsom like 5 times for me to understand what was being said and who was saying what, because all I hear is yelling.
And even if Gavin Newsom, like he did in all the other interviews, says something ridiculous or crazy, you don't even notice it, and it doesn't become newsworthy because it's just a screaming fest.
I'll tell you, when I worked at CNN, there was a moment in time, when Sarah Huckabee Sanders got yelled at in a restaurant. And Maxine Waters went on TV and said, yes, this is the way to conduct yourself whenever you run into someone you disagree with. Start screaming at them at the top of your lungs. Well, after she said that, that's exactly what people did. And when I was on CNN 3, 4, 5 times a day, and everyone watching that channel hated every word that came out of my mouth, sometimes they'd confront me in public, and it was always after they had a little liquid courage in them, and it was always when I was in some place like a booth where I had people on both sides of me where I couldn't get up and leave or tell a manager or anything like that. And what I quickly learned was not to engage with them. Because if you acknowledge their existence or you shouted back at them, all the restaurant would see is 2 crazy people screaming at one another. They very rarely see it start. They're only alerted to it after it gets really loud. So if you just ignore them, it looks like a crazy person screaming. If you engage with them, it looks like 2 crazy people screaming. That interview sounded like 2 crazy people screaming.
Pretty much was.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you want to listen to the podcast edition of this program, That process just got easier.
That's right, because we've got a brand new app. You don't even need to worry about the website. You don't need to deal with iHeartRadio. You can get the new KABC app in the Apple App Store or the Android Store. Just search for KABC AM or 790 KABC. It is the easiest, most hassle-free way not only to listen live on the stream wherever you are throughout the world when you're in a place that doesn't get AM radio reception. It's also the easiest way to listen to the podcast. It also works with Apple CarPlay. I tried this yesterday. It was really easy for me to listen to yesterday's show when I was in one of those 8-minute KFI commercial breaks. So check it out, the KABC app. It is so easy. Check this out. Lisa writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. The new app works so much better than iHeartRadio. No annoying ads before, no cutting off the show, news traffic for ads. Much easier to listen to the show at work with the new app.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Well, let's do that right now. 790 KABC welcomes Peter Gabriel to the Acrisure Arena on October 14th. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Live Nation. Good luck dialing.
And right now, it's time to open up the KABC Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, today's edition involves Ma Bell.
That's right. A shoplifter who stole things from a store realized they left their phone in the store they stole things from and went back to get it.
That's not very smart.
For more, here is Fox 11 News.
Police say that they not only robbed the store that you see behind me, but they say that they returned to the scene of the crime to retrieve an item left behind. Can you believe it?
Wait a second. I got to do something here. Are you ready?
Lay it on me.
Can you believe it?
I cannot believe it, quite frankly.
People work as hard for their money, and I don't think that it's okay for you just to demand free things.
At the premier nail supply store in Marietta, things are back to normal Wednesday night. But at the lunch hour, September 19th, the owner says 2 female suspects came into the store appearing to want to buy supplies. When it came time to pay, they instead ran out, carrying about $600 in merchandise.
What are they stealing, acrylics?
Well, it's under $950, so even if the cops showed up, all they could do is write them a ticket.
Inside the store are numerous surveillance cameras. The owner shared the footage exclusively with Fox 11. You can see the cashier and the owner, dressed in blue, chasing after the alleged robbers. But it went from bad to worse. One of the suspects returned to the store when she realized she left behind her phone, which included a driver's license.
So what do? You walk back to the store later that day, you go up to the cashier, and you say, hey, I was the one that robbed you earlier. I left my phone here. Can I have it back?
The only way that's going to work is if
the cashier is dummy.
You'd have to be a real special kind of stupid to give them their phone back.
She aggressively demanded the phone back. The owner and clerk said if you return the items, we'll give you your phone back. No questions asked. Then it got really ugly. Instead, the alleged female robber gets violent, throwing the owner to the ground and roughing up the cashier, who is pregnant.
Oh, yikes.
Well, the cashier wasn't a dummy for not giving the phone back, but the cashier was certainly unlucky.
Granted, robbing a nail supply store isn't exactly an Einstein move, but forgetting your phone and coming back for it, even worse. The people we spoke to here today expressed concern for the owner.
And when people just come in and steal from them, I just don't think that it's right.
Again, look at the video of the woman.
I don't know if we needed that.
Again, look at the video of the woman assaulting the owner and lunging at the pregnant woman behind the counter. Police.
Who raised this beast?
This is just complete lawlessness. This is the downfall of civil society.
Look at the video of the woman assaulting the owner and lunging at the pregnant woman behind the counter. Police say the theft was less than the cost of the phone. These images show the injuries to the store owner, who would not talk to us on camera, but confirmed the chain of events. The suspects left in a black vehicle. Now, according to police, they say that they located them about a mile away with the stolen property right there in full view. They were taken into custody and arrested and booked on numerous charges. Laura Diaz reporting live from Marietta. Now back to the studio.
Okay, but the question is, were they released immediately?
Is Marietta in San Bernardino County or Riverside County?
That's Riverside County.
They might have actually gotten booked.
But do the local authorities even have a say over this, or does Prop 47 or Prop 47, does that supersede them and make it so that they have to be released? Because it's the judge that determines that, correct?
That's right. It depends on what their bail schedule is. LA County's currently got the zero bail schedule. But because this was under $950, although there was the assault of the pregnant cashier, I would hope these two, and I was about to say the B word, are behind bars.
Yeah, the assault on the cashier might be what triggers the judge to keep them in jail.
I've been doing a lot of research about bail this week. It's very possible these two remain behind bars because this was not in Los Angeles County.
No. You see, this is one of these cases where if you rob the jewelry store and then you come back to add insult to injury because you left your phone there, and you get angry when they won't give you your phone back unless you bring back the stolen merchandise, and you start beating them up, this is where the old system of justice would be appropriate. This is where the cops should show up, work them over with the belly club, and then give them the knee drop to the back before they bang their head up against the side of the black and white, and they put them in the back seat.
And I hope the DA in this case gets real creative, because not only do you have robbery, not only do you have criminal threats, not only do you have violence, but since she beat up a pregnant woman, couldn't you also put in there child abuse?
Well, when you beat up a pregnant woman, I don't know how far along she was in the pregnancy, but pregnant women are not supposed to deal with stress. Not stress to their body, not stress to their psyche. They're supposed to try to keep it easy. Because if you cause them to have a miscarriage, or you cause them to go into labor much sooner than they should because they're all stressed out, you could do permanent damage to the baby too. Unfortunately, we live in a world where I'm sure that's the last thing that crossed their minds when they were attacking the pregnant woman. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Will writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com about the interview between Sean Hannity and Gavin Newsom. That thing sounded like two crackheads arguing about who got the last hit.
Let's go to Raul from Eagle Rock. Raul, you're on KABC. Hello.
Hi, John. Hi, Randy.
Hi.
Hey, John, have you ever heard, you mentioned Prop 47. You ever heard of Mike Romano?
No.
He's at Stanford University. He co-authored Prop 47. He's revising the penal code system as what he's doing per Gavin Newsom. He's revising the penal code system. He's already gotten 6 pieces of legislation through by that Marxist legislature up there. You got to look into this guy. This guy's scary, man, because, you know, everybody talks about Gascon, but Mike Romano, I think, is even more dangerous because he's retweaking the system of our laws. And he's going to make it easier for judges to let these guys, you know, these criminals get away with what they're getting away with right now.
Well, sometimes it takes a lot of education to be that stupid.
You know, well, if I could just throw one last thing in regarding the governor. You know, he's exacerbated the problem at the border because he is advocating, I don't know if he's got it done, but he was going to expand Medi-Cal to 700,000 more illegal migrants, ages, I believe, 25 to 49. I mean, that's not going to help things. You know, I mean, he's made a mess out of the border himself.
Well, what they don't understand is when you incentivize something, you get more of it. If you incentivize coming into the country illegally, you'll get more illegal immigration. If you give crackheads crack pipes, you're going to get more crackheads. If you allow people to steal from stores without punishment, more people are going to steal from stores. They don't connect the dots in Sacramento that the misery that we live with on a daily basis is here as a direct result of their idiotic policies.
John, am I still in the air?
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry. Can I just throw one last thing in? I'm just furious that Dana Bash, all these so-called journalists, they don't do their homework. Gavin Newsom was mayor of San Francisco, and he always was going on about come to San Francisco undocumented. And the guy that killed Kate Steinle went up there for that reason. He said that this was a sanctuary city. What's her name? The Senator Feinstein. She started this whole sanctuary business. If you're not aware of that, John, if you want to look at on Google, put in Feinstein, Mayor Feinstein. She started that back in 1985. The whole sanctuary business.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, she probably doesn't remember.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right.
Thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate it. Boy, we've had a gratuitous slam against John Fetterman and Dianne Feinstein this hour.
Google it.
You can just download the podcast if you missed one of them. Let's go to Scott in Long Beach. Scott, you're on KABC. Hello.
Hey, thanks, John, for taking my call. Hey, I got a phone call where I called my son this morning to see how he's doing. He's in the U.S. Coast Guard, stationed over in South Carolina at a search and rescue station. And apparently his command set him down, all of them, the men and women there, and said, if the budget doesn't pass on October 1st, you're not going to be getting paid. They're part of the Homeland Security. They're not part of the Department of Defense. So, a lot of the guys are starting to panic. A lot of them have young families, and they're trying to put things together. I looked into it, and Ted Cruz put a bipartisan Pay the Coast Guard Act out, and it looks like it was blocked by Schumer. It passed the House, but Congress wouldn't bring it to a vote.
Well, if they don't pay the members of the military, that is beyond the pale. One of the things
everybody under the Coast Guard is not under the Department of Defense. That's what they're saying. It's under the Department of Homeland Security. So, a lot of these guys, like my son, has an apartment that he gets supplemented for, like a BHA, they call it basic allowance for housing. None of that's going to be getting paid to them.
So you're saying it's an administrative loophole because it doesn't fall under the DOD.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
But they all know about it. And I think Ted Cruz, he tried to bring this up about 2 weeks ago. It was a bipartisan bill, 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans put it out there. It passed, the House, no problem. But when it went to go to, the Senate, it looks like Schumer wouldn't bring it to a vote.
Well, here's the deal. Whenever you're dealing with any kind of public safety, the military, police, fire, whatever the case may be, you have to have special rules so that they get paid. If you stop paying your military and you get attacked by some other country, you're going to be in a world of hurt. The military has to be paid. The military has to be ready to go at all times, because if you don't do that, that is a significant threat to national security. There's a reason that police officers can't go on strike, that firefighters can't go on strike. They can argue, they can yell, they can have the blue flu, they can use all kinds of different tricks to try to get what they want, but they can't go on strike. Because if the police department goes on strike and the crooks find out about it, guess what? They're going to take whatever they want to take, and they're going to shoot whoever they want to shoot. You shouldn't play games with the military. They need to be paid. We've got one more hour coming up on the John Phillips Show right here on Talk Radio 790 KABC.